You know that feeling when you put declutter something on your to-do list and it lands in the same mental category as scrub the toilet or schedule the mammogram. It's necessary, but zero fun. I mean, you avoid it. You keep putting it off until you absolutely can't anymore and then grudgingly force yourself to do it. Maybe you get a burst of energy and clear one drawer one day, but the next day, just the word declutter makes you want to pour another glass of wine or go run boring errands for 3 hours straight. So today I want to offer a single mindset shift that can change that entire experience. It's to create a legacy. As unfussy, lazy organizers, we're always looking for ways to simplify our lives, right? And I'm telling you, this one is amazing. When this finally clicked with me, it's stuck in my head. I was like, well, that's crazy simple. And instead of looking at the clothes in my room or the toys in our house as, oh my gosh, a project that's going to take hours and hours to go through to decide what to keep, what to let go of, and all that, I could clearly see what I should be hanging on to and for what reason. See, when we look at our things as part of the living legacy that we're building, and by legacy, I do mean what you're going to leave behind or pass on to your loved ones. Well, when we look at our things as part of that living legacy at any age and at any stage of our lives, we naturally keep only the good stuff. We buy more carefully, we store with intention, and decluttering stops feeling like a punishment and instead starts feeling like curation. But there's an important caveat that I want to state here. Not everything needs to be heirloom worthy. We all own can openers and screwdrivers. But even the everyday tools paint a picture of how we live. If they're junky, broken, and tossed into a jumble, that also tells a story. So why not make the story one that you're proud of? I'm an unfussy organizer, and I'll be so bold as to say that you are too, since you're here. And we want as few decisions as possible, as little maintenance as possible, and tools we never have to think about again. And that's why I take an absurd amount of time choosing something as basic as a pair of scissors. When I need to buy a pair of scissors, I'm thinking, is it comfortable? Does it last? Will I still like using it a year from now? I don't expect everyone to research like me, but the principle is what matters. Own once and enjoy often. Today, we'll do three things. We're going to, one, get rid of decluttering as a chore and replacing it with curating your legacy lens. Two, we're going to borrow gentle, age agnostic ideas from The Gentle Art of Swedish Death Cleaning by Margareta Magnusson without any sad thoughts on death here, just clarity and kindness. And three, we're going to build an easy rhythm so you can repeat that weekly. And so your legacy basically curates itself with almost no drama for you. Just think about why decluttering feels awful for a minute. I think it drains us because it triggers three things. It triggers decision fatigue because we have to make one choice after another and it's never ending. It feels like, am I going to keep that? Who'll be upset if I let it go? Where is it going to go in my house? And is there really room for it there? Decluttering also triggers loss aversion. A lot of the time, giving up an item feels like a bigger loss than the relief of clearing it from your house. And decluttering triggers guilt stories, things like, it was a gift, I spent money on that, and maybe I'll need it later. Well, when you look at your stuff through a lens of curating a legacy instead, you cut through all three of those triggers. So instead of keep or toss, we ask fewer, higher quality questions. Does this earn a place in my life's story right now? Would future me be glad that I kept this? And would my people be grateful that I did? If I had to move to a smaller home tomorrow, would I pay to move or store this? If it's a tool, is it the right one? Is it reliable, comfortable, and cared for? That's it. There's no 52-point checklist to go through. We're replacing thousands of micro decisions with a simple through line. Curate the life you're living and the story you're leaving. Now, I really enjoyed Margareta Magnuson's book, The Gentle Art of Swedish Death Cleaning. And she says she's between 80 and 100. And that book introduced many of us to death cleaning, which is clearing your home sooner rather than later with kindness for your future self and for your loved ones. The spirit of the book isn't grim at all. In fact, it's generous. And there are some key ideas there that you can use at any age when you're curating your legacy. So start before a crisis, which totally makes sense because light, regular editing beats a giant emotional purge when a crisis is in front of you. Keep the stories, not all the stuff. Save a few meaningful pieces and the memories that go with them. I think we've all become more used to the idea of taking pictures of some things instead of keeping every item that may be sentimental to us. A big example of this are our kids' projects that they bring home from school, right? Give things away now is one of the key ideas. You want to enjoy seeing your items being enjoyed. But be sure to talk to your people about it first. Ask what they'd actually want. Often it's fewer things and more stories. Make the hard calls yourself. Don't push mystery boxes onto your kids or your loved ones because going through a mountain of your stuff might just be as overwhelming for them as it is for you. And handle the private items yourself. If you wouldn't want others looking through or managing some things later, take care of it now. Do you need to be 80 to do this? No. Think of this as Swedish life cleaning. Yeah? It's legacy as a lifestyle. So let's walk through a few categories using this lens of curating your legacy. And we're going to approach this as unfussy organizers to make this simple and sustainable. Okay. So first, your closet. And the legacy move I suggest is to define your signature 20. So pick the 20 or so items in your closet that feel the most like you. Treat them well. When you've identified those top 20 pieces, you'll see that you can edit everything else to support those pieces. And some lazy upgrades that you can make here are to replace one annoying item per month, maybe an itchy sweater or a limp t-shirt or a pair of painful shoes with one great version. And you'll care for it with the proper hangers, easy to grab placement, and having a tiny mending kit in the closet can make all the difference between you replacing a lost button and you never wearing that shirt again because it lost a button. By the way, some ideas for how to come up with those 20 pieces are to ask yourself these questions. Would I photograph this version of myself? Would I want my daughter to borrow this someday? Because if not, then why is it in your rotation? A second category we should talk about are kitchen tools. The legacy move here is to choose one excellent knife, one favorite pan, one reliable can opener, and one durable cutting board. These are tools you will value. And here are some unfussy upgrade ideas. Store like a tiny atelier. You'll see that they keep their tools visible, always reachable, and well cared for. So oil your cutting board, get a magnet strip for your knives, maybe. And their storage is nothing fancy, not a million acrylic compartmentalized organizers, right? They just respect their tools. To edit your kitchen tools easily, you can ask yourself, would future me thank me for keeping this exact tool? Does it make everyday cooking faster, safer, or more joyful? The third category I want to address is papers, photos, and kids' keepsakes. The legacy move here is to keep the proof, not the pile. For paper photos, curate the highlights, right? Not every photo is a great photo, but you do want photos of your special people, including yourself. Remember that your kids will love to see what you looked like at all ages of your life. So just because you think your posture or your hair or your figure doesn't look great in a picture, your kids will want to see all that. They want to see context to understand your life. You can write names and dates on the back of pictures to help them out. And for papers, save active and essential things, of course, not every paper that comes through your door. So ID documents, taxes, medical, legal, real estate, and investments are broad categories of papers you will keep. Now, the unfussy upgrades here are to keep 1 or 2 lidded legacy boxes per person. Think of it like this: when your child moves into their own home, which of these paper things and memorabilia will they want to keep with them? Well, initially, you're all thinking that, well, whatever you don't want to take right now because your apartment is tiny, well, it can stay at home. Ultimately, that won't be true anymore. Ultimately, they will need to take those memorabilia and the legacy papers with them, and they'll need to learn to take care of that themselves. So, keeping a closet full or a basement full of memory boxes isn't the solution. That's only creating a bigger decluttering project down the road, and we want to avoid that, okay? So you can do a seasonal show and tell. Let them pick what earns a spot in those bins. Take a photo of the rest with a 2 sentence memory, maybe, then release them. And of course, keep maybe 1 file per person for truly essential documents. Everything else gets scanned or recycled. And a core question you can ask yourself to decide which papers to keep are: will this help someone understand the story later? Or is it just postponing a decision? I did this with my mom just about 2 years ago, and it does take time to go through the piles and piles of letters, photos, and school things. I was surprised at one point. There were a number of programs from her high school, like from prize day at the end of the year. And I was so happy to see her name and my aunt's name in print on these programs. I, of course, had her picture as a high schooler, but now there was this little bit of history to go with it. But do you know that she wasn't at all interested in the programs? She kept all the photos and she really treasured them, but she was happy to be rid of the programs. So, of course, I took them. They're now in my box of memories in my closet. And I love that. She got rid of something that was clutter to her, and I gained a piece of something that I tie to her legacy. And the fourth category that's important to talk about is the digital stuff. The legacy move here is to name files like you're leaving a trail for future use. So start with the year, then the month, then the if necessary. Now, file names can be as simple as 2024 taxes or 2019 Ava grade 3 portfolio or 2023 06 for the month of June family photos Disney. That's just about it. Your lazy organizer upgrades here is the simple single. I talked about this in episode 41. Never lose anything again, the essential tip to kickstart your home organization. I put the link directly to that episode in the show notes so you can take a quick listen to understand it, okay? And here, when we're thinking about your digital files, keep it simple by having only one cloud home. Of course, a lot of these will be in your computer's hard drive, but you do want to have regular backups. And you can certainly have a physical backup drive separate from your computer's hard drive, but you also want a cloud backup. But keep it to one location. So if Dropbox is your place for backing up your photos, then keep all your photos there, or Google or OneDrive or whatever. But if you're keeping backups of some photos in one place and other photos in another place, well, you're going to have a hard time finding them when you need them. So be consistent with the simple single. I would also suggest a quarterly delete fest for screenshots and downloads. We have a ton of those that we don't need any longer. Look on your desktop and also in your downloads folder. Those are 2 places that are usually glutted with stuff that's outdated and that you realistically won't read anymore because there's just no time to go back and read all that information. And then make sure that you have a simple single shared space for important family information like passwords and insurance and medical information. And 2 key questions that can help you curate what, where, and how to keep digital stuff are: if I weren't here, could my people find what they need? And could I find what I need in 10 seconds? Okay, so we've talked about curating the practical things: your closet, your kitchen tools, paper, photos and kids' keepsakes, and digital files. And it's important to remember that curating your legacy isn't about stripping meaning away. It's about choosing meaning, right? When you struggle with what to do about gifts that you were given, remember that the love was in the giving, not the keeping. So keep one representative piece if you want and release the rest with gratitude. If you're struggling with inherited things, choose 1 to 3 signature pieces that truly sing in your home. Photograph the others with their stories and then rehome them, remembering to ask if your people want them first. And if you're struggling with hobby or previous life stage items, and these can be hobbies that you had or life stages that your kids have grown out of, well, bless the chapter. Feel free to keep a small, like a museum card, which is one photo plus one paragraph explaining it, and maybe one tiny talisman if you want. And this is going to allow this space in your home to return to who you are now so you can enjoy the now. A phrase that helps here is keep the story, not the storage. I have a row of a few of my kids' artwork from their preschool days that I framed and hung along a wall in the hallway. And for some, there's a written description. For others, it's just their signature on the artwork. And it makes me smile every time I walk by. And I didn't need to keep every piece of artwork from their preschool days. I also have one small box of tiny keepsakes that we all remember and that are meaningful to all of us, like a couple of special baby books that we love to read to everyone, and some special outfits that were made by my mom or my sister, and their one favorite stuffed toy. So now I want to encourage you to get this started, right? Because it's great to learn all about this and understand how it could work for you, but it doesn't help if you can't take action on it. So here's how you can take action, and think of this as your weekly rhythm, your weekly legacy rhythm. And it can take as little as 20 to 30 minutes a week. No marathon, no need for perfect bins, just a repeating loop that makes the house lighter every week. First, you're going to do a power sweep for 10 minutes. So grab a basket, walk through one public space, and anything that dilutes your story, maybe some tired decor, duplicates of something, abandoned gadgets, you're going to put that into the basket and decide quickly what you're going to do with these things. If you ultimately decide to keep it, well, keep it with intention and name a space you're going to put it and put it there. If it's something that needs to be repaired, well, repair it by Friday or drop it off to the repair shop by Friday. Otherwise, it's got to go. If you're going to give it to someone, call them or send them a text and a picture right then and there to ask if they want it. And if they do, make plans to drop it off to them by Friday. If they don't, plan how you're going to rehome it by Friday, whether that's to another loved one or a friend or an organization. You see where we're going here, right? We can identify fairly quickly whether something doesn't belong in our curated legacy, but sometimes that item stays in our home forever because we keep putting off what needs to be done with it. So we need to put deadlines on the action to get it in its place in our home or to move it out of our home. Second, do a weekly 5 item edit, and that'll take you 5 to 10 minutes. So choose one micro category. Maybe it's mugs or black t shirts or charging cables or kitchen gadgets. Keep your 5 best and release the rest. If you truly use more than 5, well, you can raise the number, but decide on a cap. And third, do a rehome or record, and that takes about 5 or 10 minutes. So recycle or donate the stuff immediately or put them into your Saturday drop off bag and put that into your car or by the door. If something carries a story, then take a picture of it and type 2 lines in the captions or the title section of your photo app. Basically, you're recording a who, what, when, or a short little story. That's the legacy, not the item itself. And you repeat those 3 steps weekly. That's it. The house will shift under your feet if you do this. As part of curating your legacy, you can also upgrade the mundane stuff that you have to keep because maybe you'd be more inclined to use that screwdriver if it was just a little bit nicer. Yeah. But do it in an unfussy way, right? And that doesn't mean pricey, it means thoughtful. One tool a month, a screwdriver or your kitchen shears, the tape measure, a flashlight, a can opener. You buy it once, you label it if necessary, store it well, and care for it. And household basics that you touch daily, things like bath towels, wooden spoons, sheets, and dish brushes, will replace the most annoying thing in that category with a version that you like to touch. And that's maybe even beautiful to you. Create storage with status. So maybe you have a pretty tray for the good scissors or a fun vintage hook for the good tote bag. When items have a home of honor, you treat them and your time using them better. And this is how the junk drawer becomes the useful drawer. Same space, but it's a different story and a different feel, right? So I have a gentle ask for you today, and it's to talk to your people. So if your kids are young, maybe you have this conversation with your sibling. Remember that legacy is relational. It's between you and those you want to share your story with. And it takes maybe 2 5-minute conversations to make everything easier. Ask what they actually want. Your kids may want 3 holiday ornaments and the handwritten recipe, but not the china. Well, that's good to know. Or maybe you and your siblings want just a few pieces of mom's china as a memory, but not the entire 300-piece set. Then tell them your plan. I'm keeping the pieces that feel most like us, and I'm giving things away while I can still enjoy doing so. And there's a real sense of relief when you know that the things that are important to you have been taken care of, but you also have time to digest if your kids maybe don't want everything that was important to you or that you're feeling guilt about, like Aunt Minnie's huge vintage hutch. For your older relative, try a 5-item interview. Ask them if you could just choose five objects to represent your story, which would they be and why? And record this on your phone. The video and the audio is just pure treasure. Now, where should the released items go? We'll try local first: schools, shelters, buy nothing groups, repair cafes, or theater and art programs. Then research specialty rehomes for things like musical instruments, craft supplies, medical gear, which often have local nonprofits. And sell sparingly, only if it will generally happen within the next 2 weeks. Otherwise, donating saves your future brain space, which is priceless. A line that helps me is, my job is to choose carefully. My job is not to run a boutique. So the mindset of curating your legacy hits every pillar of organizing for beautiful living. Yeah. Live light because you're going to have fewer, better things in your house. You're going to have less waste and more thoughtful buying. Love your home because your rooms are now going to feel curated, not crowded. Connect often. Stories that you can actually share are going to be in view now, and you're going to see them, you can find them. Work to live well because you're going to have less maintenance, fewer decisions to make, more energy for what matters, and thrive daily. You're going to have calmer visuals, easier mornings, and gentler evenings. You're not decluttering as a chore anymore. You're curating your life. Thank you so much, guys, for hanging out with me today. This was a lot of information, but I hope you understand now how to begin curating your legacy, and try this out this week and let me know how it goes, okay? I'm Zee Siman, and I will see you on the next episode of Organizing for Beautiful Living.